You ever have that late night moment where you're half asleep, staring at the ceiling, and your brain goes, okay, how many years do we have left on this work subscription? And then you do the math. And then you do the math again because you don't like the first answer. If you've ever done that, you've probably also Googled something like, how much does the average person retire with? And whatever number you found either made you feel weirdly confident or it hit you like a truck. Here's the problem. That average retirement number people throw around is one of the most misleading numbers in personal finance. It's not just a little off, it's the kind of wrong that makes normal people feel behind even when they're doing fine, and makes other people feel fine when they're actually in trouble. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the real retirement landscape in America, the numbers that actually matter, why the average is basically a trap, and what you should compare yourself to instead. And yes, I'm going to tell you the number everyone wants to hear, the average person retires with number. Just not yet. Because if I give you that number right now without context, you'll do what everyone does. You'll either panic or you'll dismiss it, and either way, you'll learn nothing. So first, we need the missing context. And once you have it, that final number is going to hit very differently. Let's start with the story most people were sold. You hit about 65, you've got a nice little nest egg, you travel sometimes, you play golf, or you do whatever your version of retired and thriving looks like. And then a financial calculator shows up and tells you to maintain your lifestyle, you'll need something like 80% of your pre-retirement income. Sounds reasonable until you type your income into one of those retirement calculators and it casually spits out a number like $1.5 million or $2 million. And now you're sitting at your desk pretending to answer emails while your soul leaves your body. Here's what nobody tells you. Retirement savings in America are not normally distributed. They're not a neat bell curve. They're messy. They're extreme. They're basically two different universes living in the same country. Some people retire with 8-figure portfolios. Others retire with whatever is left after the bills clear, plus a prayer. And when you mash those people together and calculate a single average, you get a number that represents almost nobody. It's like taking a room with 9 minimum wage workers and 1 NBA superstar, averaging their salaries and concluding that the typical worker makes millions. Technically, the math works. Practically, it's nonsense. And this is exactly why headlines love the average number. It's dramatic. It's scary. It makes you click. Are you behind on retirement savings? Behind compared to who? The guy who got stock options in 2009? The couple who inherited a paid-off house? The surgeon who maxed everything for 25 years? Cool benchmark. Very helpful. Totally not anxiety-inducing. So what matters isn't the average. What matters is the number that describes what a typical person actually has. And that's where the median comes in. Quick finance nerd moment, but I promise this is the key that makes everything else make sense. The mean is what most people call average. You add up all the values and divide by how many values you have. Simple. Until you apply it to money. Because wealth in America isn't spread evenly, it's heavily skewed. A small slice of people hold a massive amount of wealth. So when you compute the mean, those outliers yank the number upward like a kite in a hurricane. That's why the average retirement balance can sound surprisingly decent, while most people don't feel remotely close to okay. The median is different. Imagine lining everybody up, from the person with the least savings to the person with the most. The median is the person standing directly in the middle. Half of people have more than that, half have less. That number is way more useful because it reflects real life for normal people, not what happens when you average in a handful of ultra-wealthy households. And here's the next layer. The median changes a lot by age. A 28-year-old and a 62-year-old should not have the same retirement savings. If they do, one of them is crushing it and the other one needs an intervention.
So if you want to know whether you're behind, the correct question is not, how do I compare to the average person? It's, how do I compare to the median person in my age range? And what does that median actually mean for retirement income? Now let's walk through the age buckets.
When you look at retirement savings by age, the numbers are honestly kind of sobering and also weirdly reassuring depending on where you are. For people in their 20s, the median retirement savings is often close to zero in many data sets. Before you freak out, that doesn't mean every 25-year-old is broke forever. It means a lot of people in their 20s are dealing with entry-level income, student loans, rent, and learning how to be an adult without spontaneously combusting. So if you're in your 20s and you have anything invested for retirement, even a small amount, you're ahead of a huge chunk of your peers. Not because you're a genius, because consistency is rare early on. In your 30s, the median typically starts to rise, but it's still not a huge number. This is the decade of expensive life upgrades: homes, kids, childcare, car payments, moving costs. How is groceries this expensive? So if you're in your 30s and you've built even a modest retirement base, that's more meaningful than it looks. In your 40s, things get more serious. This is often when earnings peak, or at least improve, and when people realize retirement isn't a distant concept anymore. The median tends to jump, but it still usually isn't "I can retire soon" money. It's more like "I've started, but I'm not done." Then you hit the 50s and early 60s, and this is when the emotional temperature rises, because retirement is suddenly not a hypothetical, it's a calendar event. And for many people, the median right before retirement age is far lower than what the internet makes you think is normal. Here's the key takeaway from all of this. Most Americans are not retiring with a seven-figure retirement account. A lot of people are scraping together something and then relying on Social Security and whatever else they can manage. But to understand why, you need to know where retirement money actually lives and how most people use those accounts.
Retirement money in the U.S. usually ends up in three main places: workplace plans, mostly 401ks, individual retirement accounts, IRAs, traditional or Roth, and Social Security, which is not a retirement plan, it's a safety net. Let's start with the 401k, because that's the big one. A 401k is the employer plan where you contribute directly from your paycheck, and the best part? The part that is basically a cheat code, is the employer match. If your employer matches contributions and you're not contributing enough to get the full match, you are turning down free money. Not maybe free money, literally free money. That's like walking past a vending machine that says, "Press this button to get a paycheck bonus," and going, "No thanks, I'm good." Now here's the reality. A lot of people either don't contribute or they contribute randomly. They pick a percentage when they start the job, 3%, 5%, whatever sounded reasonable, and then they never update it again. They choose a target date fund because it has a year in the name and that feels responsible, and they vaguely assume future them will fix it later. And to be fair, it's not because people are stupid. It's because the retirement system basically asks every worker to become their own pension manager while also working full-time, paying bills, raising kids, and surviving life. That's an absurd expectation. Then you have IRAs, accounts you open yourself. Traditional IRA, tax-deferred growth. Roth IRA, you contribute after-tax money and then qualified withdrawals in retirement can be tax-free. And Roth IRAs are genuinely one of the best tools for normal people, especially if you're earlier in your career and you expect your income and tax bracket to rise over time. Yes, there are contribution limits each year. Yes, there are income rules for Roth contributions, but the concept is simple. Automate it, make it consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting. Now, all of that sounds great on paper, but the numbers show most people don't max these accounts. A lot of households don't use IRAs at all. And even among people who contribute, many contribute below what experts recommend. So that brings us to the question, if many people have underfunded accounts,
How are they actually retiring? That's where Social Security comes in, and where a lot of plans quietly fall apart. Social Security was never designed to be your entire retirement income. It was meant to be one piece of the puzzle. The old model was basically a three-part system: a pension, personal savings, Social Security. But pensions are far less common now, and personal savings, well, you've seen the reality. So for many people, Social Security becomes the main plan. And that's where things get scary, because Social Security was built to prevent poverty, not to fund a comfortable retirement lifestyle in 2026 prices. Benefits vary a lot based on your earnings history and how consistently you worked. If you had gaps, raising kids, unemployment, part-time work, health issues, your benefit can be significantly lower. And even for people with decent benefits, it often covers basic survival, not thriving. Here's a simple way to think about it. If your monthly expenses are $4,000 and Social Security covers $1,800, you have a gap. That gap has to come from savings, pensions, if you have one, or continuing to work. Now add in the uncomfortable truth. The system has long-term funding challenges. You don't need to panic about collapse tomorrow, but you should be realistic that changes could happen over time. Benefit formulas, full retirement age adjustments, taxation, means testing, something. So the smart move is this: build your plan so that Social Security is a helpful bonus, not the foundation holding the whole building up. Okay, now that we have the context, it's time. Let's talk about the number everyone asks about. How much does the average person actually retire with?
All right, here's the headline number people love to throw around. The average American retires with something in the ballpark of the mid-six figures in retirement savings. And if you're hearing that and thinking, wait, that's it? You're not alone. If you're hearing that and thinking, oh cool, I'm fine then, slow down. Because that number has two massive problems. Problem number one, that's usually referring to retirement accounts, not total net worth. Net worth includes your house, your car, your investments, your cash, minus your debts. So someone might have a decent retirement account number, but also have most of their wealth locked inside home equity. And home equity is real wealth, but it's not the same as spendable money unless you sell, downsize, or borrow against it. Owning a house with a lot of equity is like owning a valuable painting in your living room. Yes, it's worth money. No, you can't swipe it at the grocery store checkout. Problem number two, debt changes everything. A lot of people approach retirement with debt. Car loans, credit cards, medical bills, sometimes even student loans. So when you see a retirement savings number, the real question is how much of that is actually yours to live on after you account for what you owe. Because retirement isn't about a number on a statement. Retirement is about cash flow. It's about your ability to pay your bills month after month without a paycheck. This is why you can have $1 million net worth on paper and still feel broke. If most of that wealth is trapped in your home and you're still making mortgage payments, insurance payments, property taxes, and you have healthcare costs rising, the lifestyle math can get ugly fast. And that's the part people don't talk about enough: healthcare. Retirement is often when your body starts sending you invoices you didn't request. So if your plan is tight, if you're relying on a small savings pool plus Social Security while also carrying debt, you're one bad year away from a situation you don't want. Now, I know this sounds depressing, but here's the good news. Clarity is power. Once you stop comparing yourself to misleading averages and start focusing on your gap, your cash flow, and your timeline, you can actually build a plan that works. So let's talk about what to do next, the simple, high-impact moves that matter most.
Here's the practical plan. No drama, no magic tricks. Step 1. Get the full employer match in your 401k. If you do nothing else, do that. It's an instant return on your money. Step 2. Kill high-interest debt like it's your second job, because paying off a 20% APR credit card is a guaranteed return. There is no stock market strategy that consistently beats stop bleeding 20%. Step 3. Automate a Roth IRA contribution if you're eligible, even if it's small at first. $50 a week beats I'll do it later. Time and consistency beat intensity. Step 4. Raise your savings rate gradually so it doesn't feel like punishment. A simple method: increase your contribution by 1% every 6 months. You'll barely notice it, but your future self will. Step 5. Invest simply and stick with it. Low-cost, diversified index funds, reasonable allocation, and a long timeline beats panic buying and panic selling. Most retirement plans don't fail because of complicated math. They fail because people quit when things get uncomfortable. And the most important step: start now. Not next month, not when the market feels safe, not when you make more money. Now. Because the real enemy isn't a low retirement balance, it's lost time. Every year you delay is a year of compounding you never get back. If this video helped you see the real retirement picture more clearly, hit subscribe. I'm going to keep breaking down retirement numbers in plain English: what's real, what's hype, and what actually moves the needle. And remember, the goal isn't to be average. The goal is to be prepared.